Welcome to It's the Economy. This is an important discussion. Has the private corporate capex cycle picked up? That's the question we are asking. Going by the macro GDP numbers for FY24, you know, the one that was announced on May 31st, gross fixed capital formation grew by 9%. Now, this includes government capex, private capex, household capex. Okay? We know from the budget that government capex has grown by 25% last year, state plus center. We also know that household capex has been strong, at least double digits, because of the strong real estate purchases, you know, home and dwelling. By implication, by reduction, it appears that private capex must have grown by only low single digits. But let's ask the experts. Joining me now are Mahesh Vyas, Managing Director and CEO of CMI, and K. Ravichandran, Chief Ratings Officer at ICRA. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you very much for your time. Mahesh, I just saw the last data that of CMI that you sent over the past 1 year. Actually, it's the quarterly data is kind of all over the place. You tell us what trends can we glean. Are the number of projects announced encouraging or projects completed encouraging?
Thanks, Radha, for having me on the show. Let me tell you that there is a lot of noise if you look at the quarterly data. I agree with you on that. But I think we need to step back a bit and take a look at the emerging scenario. What I see from here is that in 22-23 and 23-24, we did see a pickup in investments. So new investment proposals did pick up quite substantially. In fact, from 14-15 till 21-22 or so, we had an average investment per year, new proposals of about 20 trillion rupees a year, 20 lakh crores. And in 22-23, we saw this go up to 40 trillion. That was big. And then in 23-24, it went up again by 31 trillion. So an average of around 20 trillion per annum for many years. Then we have 40 trillion followed by 30 trillion. So I think this is a very encouraging sign that new investment proposals have increased substantially in the recent past. If you look at the June numbers that I can see on the screen now, it's disappointing, but I don't think we should be carried away by that. That came at the end of or during the election cycle. Things were a little quiet then. We got to wait for some time, and I think we can expect the good rollout that we saw in 22-23 and 23-24 to continue into 24-25 as well.
What is I mean, these are big numbers, you know, 13 trillion, 1.2 trillion, 6 trillion. So I found it difficult to get a trend. What is the year-on-year growth that you are seeing in FY25 or in the last 6 months compared to a year ago? And how does that compare with the secular trend, say a 10-year trend, 5-year trend, etc.?
So the problem is that investments don't go in these orderly manners. You know, these are growth in investments, so it becomes complicated to make sense of the growth rate numbers. And therefore, you are talking about the numbers being very volatile in the numbers I sent you. So it's best for us to step back a bit, look at the larger trend, and the larger trend I see is new investment proposals worth 20 trillion rupees used to be made per annum flat for nearly 7-8 years. And then suddenly in 22-23, we see this rise up to 40 trillion. That's a doubling, if you want percentages. Okay. And then you may say that the next year, 23-24, we saw the number drop to 31 trillion, which is like a sharp fall from 40 trillion. But you look at it with respect to 20 trillion before. So we are pretty good at 40 and 30 trillion in the recent past. And don't look at June, it is misleading. Let's wait for a few more quarters. I think the story is turning out to be good.
Okay, that's encouraging. Let me get Mr. Ravichandran in. Mr. Ravichandran, what have been the trends that ICRA has observed?
Yeah, as far as we are concerned, we track the private sector capex very closely since we rate the who's who of the Indian corporates. If you go with the, the large corporates, listed companies, etc., there has been steady rise in the capex, as seen from the balance sheet numbers. For the last financial year, we, as per our analysis, is close to about 9 lakh crore. most of these capex, happened in capital-intensive old economy sectors like oil and gas, renewable energy, thermal energy, and metals, telecom, automobiles, etc. So these have been the capital, guzzlers. But one discerning trend that we have been noticing of late is that a lot of announcements have been made with regard to the new economy sectors, especially in the data centers, pumped hydro storage, and in the battery, manufacturing, EV manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Green hydrogen, green ammonia, etc. So these are all announcements which have been made, which we believe will further, increase over the next few years as the projects, get on the ground. So composition of the capex is, shifting more towards the greener side, based on the announcements made. That is one, major shift that, I wanted to bring to attention.
No, can you, like Mahesh, give me some comparison? What used to be the pace of private capex, say pre-COVID or, last 10 years, if you want to just average it out, and how do the FY24 and FY25 prospective investments compare? Mr. Ravichandran, that's to you.
Yeah. Okay. So with regard to when we have to look at the let's say the projected capex for the coming years, of course, in the current year, first quarter, perhaps we'll not see much of a growth because of the fact that we had elections and heat wave and so on and so forth, which delayed construction. But having said that, I'm sure it will pick up in the coming quarters. So with regard to the growth per se, I'm expecting at least 15 to 20% growth over the previous financial year. That's about 9 lakh crore that we saw.
That is nominal capex.
Nominal,
unadjusted for inflation.
Yes, okay. Yes, very much.
Okay, and how would this 9%, you said nominal would be 9%. How does it compare with a longer term trend?
No, 9 lakh crore. Actually, I mentioned 9 lakh
Sorry,
crore.
9 lakh crore. What would be the percentage growth?
Yeah, growth. See, growth, that has picked up, since 21, 22. Post-COVID, there has been a suddenly pickup. But otherwise, the fast growth would have been about 10-12%, I would think. So there has been suddenly sharp rise in the capex growth rate. With regard to the but what one has to see is with regard to the overall GDP, with regard to the overall gross capital formation, whether private capex is adequate. So that is when we have to look at based on those trends. Perhaps the share of private capex is perhaps is not growing that much. Reason could be the demand side issues, and also we can look at from the capacity utilization of the industry across different sectors. Even if you go by the RBI's published numbers, we are about 74-75%. So demand has to pick up, and wherever demand is visible, companies are going forward and announcing large capex.
Okay, actually, this capacity utilization, which the RBI governor always makes a part of his speech, has remained at 74-75% for how many quarters now? Probably 20 quarters now. It's not showing an increase. So that was worrying whether, that will trigger fresh investments. Okay, Mahesh, you said that you're encouraged by the flow of new investments in FY23 and FY24. What about completion of projects? Has that dramatically improved compared to the previous 10 years when we saw a lot of infrastructure getting stalled?
Yes, the story on completions is also very encouraging. So just to give you an idea that, again, if I look at from 14-15 onwards, we used to see completions of the order of about 5 to 6 trillion rupees per annum. And in 23-24, this number shot up to 9 trillion.
Okay.
So it's a 50% increase. So suddenly a large number of projects and essentially infrastructure projects did get completed in this year. And it was a remarkable number. So we have always expected 9 trillion to get completed, and it was always 6 trillion till 23-24 when the 9 trillion actually happened. So I think this is a big turnaround. Again, if you look at the June numbers, it is misleading. No completions were announced in the June quarter, but I expect in the coming quarter or two, this number to come up again and completions to start getting corrected again.
Okay. We will just play your stalled projects as well. That chart has also been made. But Mr. Ravichandran, would you say that the record of projects getting hijacked in between, stalled or announced and abandoned has fallen considerably?
Yeah, I would think so. These days, most state governments are very particular about, investments, and they are going the extra mile to see that, last mile issues are addressed adequately. Even labor issues and other aspects, there are certain improvements in pockets. So I would think in terms of completion, there has been good progress, I would think. The real estate is one pocket where we saw a lot of stall projects, and even there with the rise in the real estate prices, we have seen deals happening between stressed developers and financially strong developers. So real estate is one space where we have seen a lot of movement of assets between weaker and stronger players. Otherwise, with regard to the traditional core sectors, with regard to completion per se, I would think there is good progress.
Okay. No, I agree. I agree with you that real estate stalled projects actually have gotten, resolved and reconstructed, revived. Mahesh, you have been CMI has been keeping this data forever now. Ever since even I was a student, we used to be given these numbers. Does it feel like we are, getting into a very good cycle? Does it feel like 2004 or 2005 when we took off? Are you getting that sense in terms of the speed of the capex cycle?
Not yet. I would be a bit cautious over there. The investments that have been announced are mostly in the greenfield area, energy, aircraft purchases, and the completion is infrastructure again, largely infrastructure like the Eastern Freight Corridor, which is a big investment that got completed. And I think that's a very, very good project which got completed. So we're doing quite well on infrastructure. Infrastructure investments have been good, both in announcements and in completions. The problem that I say that I'll be cautious is that I don't see private sector animal spirits in people saying we are setting up investments in large numbers. So I don't see the corporate financial statements still showing me a good increase in capex. That is still in nominal single-digit growth rates. That is, we still need to wait. So I think if this has to happen in phases, the big infrastructure projects have taken off, and maybe very soon we will see the private sector taking off as well. We should be hopeful in that manner, but I'll be cautious.
Okay, fair point. That's actually extremely well summarized, Mahesh. We have seen infrastructure because it was government supported, but it is only manufacturing and construction that would be private sector supported. And over there, there is optimism, but there is room for caution as well. And we are not in the exuberant state that we were in the first decade of this century. Thank you very much, Mahesh Vyas and Ravichandran, for laying out the capex cycle and the state it is in. Cautious optimism is the word from our experts. Wrap up on Bazaar on that cautious optimistic note. Markets very much in the green, especially the Nifty Bank after a bad patch. We wrap up on Bazaar on that note. Chartbusters coming up.